I just had a baby a few
Oh, man,
she's gonna be
congrats.
3 months. Yeah, thank you. Or my wife, of course, had the baby. So I've been trying to stay home a lot. So I'm here a lot. I'm still working, like, but trying to not travel for a bit.
Hmm. You're
So I
you
can
just,
be
like, more
home.
selective on what you're taking on right now?
Yeah, I just want to stay home for the first few months and like get in the groove and watch her grow a little bit, and then like
Yeah,
yeah, eventually I'll get back out there. But
right.
it's been all right. I've been able to do a few things in town, and then I'm working on this. Like, there's this Netflix show that I worked on last
Mhm.
year that I'm doing again. So
The John Mulaney one?
the John Mulaney one. So we're
Yeah,
doing that like a few days a week
that's pretty cool. So
here and there. It's
that's an
cool.
ongoing thing that you do every week?
Yeah. So last year it was like a week long live event. Like, and they had an episode every day for a week. So we spent like over the course of several months, shot all this stuff for it.
Mm,
This year, it's gonna be different. It's more episodes, but only once per week. So,
mm,
and it's starting soon. It's starting in like 3 or 4 weeks is the first
okay.
one. So
That's
we've been
cool.
shooting. We started in like December,
Mm,
um, for that, and we're just gonna kind of shoot and shoot and shoot because I think it goes till what's 12 weeks, June or something.
right. What's kind of the premise of it? I've seen you posting about it before. What's it about?
The last year, it was basically a talk show where, um, John Mulaney, like, had guests as, like The Tonight Show or something, but it was all focused on LA. The premise was just that Netflix was doing their, like, comedy festival. Netflix is a joke,
Yeah,
which was all LA stuff last year. I don't know if they do it in LA every year, but um so so the premise was just that everybody's in LA for Netflix as a joke. So he just had all his buddies and people come on this talk show, but we also had like um LA people, city people that work for the city, people that are, you know, I think there was like a earthquake. There was all these like
mm,
specialists of in their fields of things relating to LA, so that you would have like, yeah, like a hypnotist sitting next to, um,
mm,
you know, Bill Hader or whatever, and
right,
or
right.
that's not exactly what happened, but something like that, and it was like this random, not random, but seemingly random mix of people that just all had to do with LA, and
Mm,
then so I was shooting with my buddy Brooke Linder. We shot like the title sequence, the opening titles, and then all these basically in between the live studio bits, we had shot all this um stuff that was like LA stuff. But I
mm,
mean a lot of like B-roll basically, but
right.
then also like interviews with people in the city, and we would just like kind of cruise around and find
Mm,
weird stuff, LA stuff,
yeah.
and it was super fun.
What made you like interested in it? Because it doesn't seem like maybe just off the surface, like something that maybe your work like you have done before, or something that like a style that you
Oh
haven't done.
yeah. I mean, stylistically it's something that I've been like interested in for a long time. It's what we do on the show. I mean, the way that I treat it, basically Brooke and I treat it, it's kind of like a mix of street photography um and like Robert Altman is a big
Sure.
influence for both of us on that stuff. So we kind of like, yeah, we a lot of the interviews are of course like pre set up, predetermined, but other than that, we kind of drive around and look for exciting stuff
Yeah.
that's happening, and then yeah, it's kind of, street photography is insanely hard to, you go out on foot or whatever and looking for stuff, and
It's just
It's like
unpredictable. You have
it's
no
so
idea what you're gonna
unpredictable.
get.
So we try a few different methods to like, I kind of it's kind of like similar to fishing or something. It's like you go out, you have an idea of like maybe a place. Okay, so today we're going to the beach. So let's post up here, maybe say by the volleyball or whatever, and see what happens, or see if we meet somebody or whatever. And like, of course, we don't have because we're working on the show. We don't have the luxury of like returning day after day for a couple weeks. Like, some of the great photographers, that's what they would do. Or,
Right.
um,
Takes time.
it takes time, it takes luck, it takes all this stuff. So, um, but yeah, I strive always to like, I love this street photography, like that has a lot of stuff going on inside the frame, like,
Mm,
and it's kind of like a little bit funny, like maybe the juxtaposition of the elements in the frame, like some people in the foreground versus the background, or maybe there's like a plane or a boat in the background, or some
yeah.
stuff like that. I think about Alex Webb or like
Mm,
Lauren Parr and like, of course, Robert Frank, guys like that. It's like there's often so much going on in the frame that you can't even see it all at once. Like, I just think that's so cool, and so yeah, we don't always have the time to like hang out for days and days and days. So I try and do it with the Zoom, and that's where Robert Altman, the Robert Altman thing comes in. It's like, so we're starting on this set of people over here, and then we're zooming into this dog that's like scratching his ass in the
you're almost just
background or
like
something.
sniping people and
Yeah,
things.
and
Yeah.
trying to connect things, um, if it's there,
Mm,
if we can. It's not always there. It's hard, but
mm.
it's really fun, and we just like jump in the car and
Yeah.
cruise
Is it
around.
almost
And
do you almost feel like it's just like a creative like release almost from like some of the other stuff you do that maybe is like way more structured, way more
oh yeah,
people, way more just everything. It has to just feel almost like liberating in a way.
yeah, and it's like it's just like fun. I mean, it's like being a yeah, it's like what a lot of people started out doing, just cruising around trying to
Mm,
take a picture of something cool or something
yeah.
fun or interesting. Um, so yeah, it's kind of like dreamy in that aspect. Like, oh, finally, this is this is my favorite thing to do at some
Yeah.
point. Um, and it is fun. I mean, sometimes it's exhausting and you don't get. Sometimes you go out and you don't get anything.
Right.
Um, but that's why we kind of structure these interviews and stuff around. So at least like, say we're gonna go to Koreatown to interview this guy about
Mm,
something that he's doing or some shop or whatever it may be. And then we'll take a walk around the block and see what's popping. If there's like a construction site or
yeah, that's cool.
something like that, that visual. Of course, we're looking for things that are visual. Um, yeah, and I think just like Brooks' sensibility of like what he finds visually interesting,
Mm,
and myself, it's like, we don't go out and like shoot the Hollywood sign and shoot like
right.
sunset or what Hollywood and Vine
Like
like street sign.
stereotypical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we try and find like the kind of um something fun in the mundane, or like
Mm,
something a little out of the just left of normal life, I
right.
think.
Does is Brooke like when you guys are on these shoots, is it kind of like Brooke points something out like, "Oh, I think this is cool. Let's point the camera here." You see something cool, let's point the camera here. Like how does your guys' relationship kind of work within this context?
I mean, we've been doing similar stuff for a really long time. Like, um, I think the first music video we did in 2014 or 15, like, was the two of us driving around with a bit of red and a zoom lens, and it was like this concept of like these spy. Um,
Mm.
it was like a vague kind of spy motif. So we would zoom in on buildings. We had like some guy like walking around with a briefcase and stuff like that. And like that was one of my, but I mean, I think Brooks too, like it was one of our favorite videos for the longest time. Like I think I still have it on my, or I did very recently still have it on my website. It's like 10
Mm.
years old, but I just
Wow.
like loved what we did with that. And like
Yeah.
we've done that kind of thing for a long time. I mean, obviously we've done other stuff, but like, um, we've always just loved like the Altman, the like 70s spy stuff and thriller stuff, and been drawn to that. And then that plus we've never had when we work together, we typically haven't had like huge budgets or like things. So it's like, well, we can't move the camera. We don't have a crew,
Yeah.
but we can, if we get a zoom, we can zoom in on stuff. So
Mm.
it's kind of
That's
what we,
pretty much that's yeah, that's the answer. Yeah.
that's kind of how we, how we fell into that.
Mm.
But yeah, we've been doing music videos similar for a really long time. And so it was
Mm.
pretty natural. And like, um, even like, the last couple videos we did, Arctic Monkeys, and then we did like this guy called Rich Ruth, where it was similar. We went to Brooks' hometown, Springfield, Missouri, and kind of just found uh
Something.
bizarre,
Yeah.
yeah, just like ordinary but bizarre stuff. And then
Mm.
of course it was a music video, so we embellished a little bit. And
Sure.
um yeah, but that's just like, I don't know. So
Mm.
how we like to roll.
All right. Did you
So
meet him in film school? Because if I remember, I think the reason how I found you was we have a mutual friend, John
yeah.
Pifko,
Yeah.
and I remember him telling me about you, and you guys went to school together. Is that how you guys met, you and Brooke, or like? I mean, feel free to give me a little bit of
Yeah.
background about how you kind of found film in general.
Yeah, so I did meet Brooke is not from film school, but I met, yeah, of course, John, when I was in school. It's so crazy, it's very I can really pinpoint the steps of my entire path, I get, or,
Oh wow.
everything that's led me to wherever I am now, I can really trace back, I think, very clearly. Um, I started in high school, fell into a media studies class, which was like shooting on DV tape, editing in iMovie. But they had those IMAX, dude, and they were sick. Like the old, like
Back
this is
then,
like,
yeah,
yeah, this is
yeah,
like 20 or the 20. This is 2002 or 3 or
okay.
I took like a shop class, but it was one of those where it was like I signed up for shop, but it was only shop for half of the year, and then the
Is shop
second,
like wood shop
yeah,
type
like
class?
wood
Yeah.
shop, we would like making bridges out of sticks and stuff,
Okay.
that kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
yeah, yeah.
So I signed up for that, but it was that for half of the year, and then a media
Mm.
something course for the second half. So like, okay, what is this? But yeah, like the computers were just like sick. Like the stuff, yeah, it was like, I don't know. I was only vaguely aware of movies and
Mm.
photography and things before that. Um, but so I got really into it um there, and we would make short films, I mean, silly stuff with like hand camcorder, like not even a good one,
Yeah.
and I really liked editing because that was all I could really do
Mm.
creatively. It's like we didn't have good cameras or light. I didn't even know, I was still like, why doesn't this look like Transformers? Like this is crazy. This why doesn't this that a
You just had
$90
no
no
reference, no
clue what was
background,
going on.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, no idea. And this is like I was not looking shit up on the internet, like,
Mm.
if there even was, I don't, cinematography.com probably existed, or like the mailing list or whatever. Um, but yeah, I was not like motivated in that way yet. But I liked editing because that was like the only place you could really do um like work that felt like equivalent to a real thing,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah.
Um, and it was just cool. Like the stuff is cool. Like, it was one of those classes where you're learning about sound and switchers and, all the just broad media stuff. And then I don't know, I was like good at school and like normal. Like I played sports, I was in music stuff. I was like, kind of all over the place. My friend that I was doing the media stuff with, his name is Christy Berardino. He's actually like a colorist now, which is sick.
Okay.
He was like, "I think I'm gonna go to film school," and I was like, "What the fuck? Like, you can do that? Like, what are you talking about?
What
That's
is film
insane."
school? Yeah.
Yeah, like what? And so, I thought at that point, I figured like I was gonna go and do math or what, some kind of like school thing.
Mm.
But then, like, Uh, yeah, so he like kind of convinced me that would be a good idea. And he told me about this college, Emerson College. He's like, I'm gonna go there. And so I applied there. He wound up not I don't think he even applied. He didn't go there.
Oh, wow.
But so I applied to NYU and Emerson, and I got waitlisted at NYU, and I got in at Emerson, so I went to Emerson. And, I met a billion friggin' people there that still work and are very successful now. Like, so I arrived, and for some reason, they put me in a dorm room with this guy who was a junior in school. His name is Ben Filippo. And, and it was like, "What the hell? Like, why am I with this old
Right.
guy?" No offense, Ben. Um, but But it was a so I spent, like, the beginning of school being, like, on my own because, you have if you went to college, you have, like, what's it called? The first week where it's, like, freshman week or whatever.
Freshman, yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking
Dude, I
about.
was,
Like
like,
welcome
by
week or something?
myself. Yeah, I had no like, I didn't have a roommate, so I had
Oh, that's a good
because
point.
he was
Yeah.
so I don't know how this happened, but so I'm with Ben. He eventually arrives. He's like a beast. Like he's a genius filmmaker, um, director, DP, he's into music, he's into everything. Um, and so very early on, before like classes were even really like popping, he's like, "Hey, like I'm gonna shoot this movie. Um, help come and help me on it, be a grip, do lighting or whatever." So I went with him. We shot like on weekends for like a month or
Wow.
more. I can't remember, but it was really like it was him and his girlfriend at the time, and they were making this film, and they were putting like their whole like heart and soul into this thing. And like I was like first time on a set, learning about all the stuff, setting up the C stands and the lights and everything, just like totally confused. But um, it was sick. And Ben was the DP, but he was doing everything. And he
Mhm.
was clearly like the boss. And I was like, oh, DP is the guy. Like the DP is the guy, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah, yeah.
is the boss.
But before
So
you met this guy, you didn't even know what a DP was, no?
100% no.
Yeah.
At that point, I was more into music than I was
Mm.
even film. I try to get it I Emerson has, like, a big radio thing, and I tried to get into that. They wouldn't let me in. I was in a band in high school, and I really my dream was to, like, do music, honestly.
Me too
And,
for a while. Yeah.
I wanted to just, like, go on tour with my buds, like, that's all I that was, like, the dream,
Yeah.
Just, like, drive around in a van with your friends and, like, play music.
Mm.
That's what I wanted to do. I liked film stuff. I thought I would check out, like, editing 'cause was more into that in school, in high
Mhm.
school, or directing or whatever. I didn't know what a DP was at all, or any of the jobs
Other
really.
positions, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I followed Ben on this movie, and he taught me like everything about all the lights, what they do, how to light, like everything. They were shooting 16, so I learned a little bit about that. Like
yeah. Oh,
the
nice.
AC was like constantly like looking in the manual, like the cinematographer ASC manual
Yeah,
about like
yeah,
depth of field. And I was like, oh my god, that looks so friggin' complicated. That's crazy. Like
yeah.
every shot, he's like looking up the depth of field and like measuring it out and like all
Wow.
this stuff. I was like, what is even going on? But so that set me down a path to explore cinematography and
Mm,
more in a more focused way. Of course, I learned immediately that the DP is not the boss or the top of anything. I learned what a DP actually is,
right.
um, which is, um, I don't know. It's a, it's a, it's a conspirator, but
Yeah.
I started reading like American Cinematographer and all these books and watching everything um but it was still like this is like 2006
Mm,
ish. So I don't know if it's me, but dude, like it was still so hard to understand anything because we were you'd be in one class learning how to use a Bolex, learning how to shoot black and white reversal, and then you'd go into a directing class, and they're like, "Here's your Sony Handycam. Go like shoot a short film scene and
yeah.
edit it together." And I'm just like, "What the hell is going on? Like, what? Like, none of this stuff looks like the real
They don't
movie.
look like
No one is,
Transformers.
yeah, no one is telling me." Why or why not? No one
Mm,
like, it was bizarre when I look back, like, I can I kinda just blame it on it was a weird time of transition digital, like, this is pre-5D, but
mhm.
it's
Yeah, you're, like,
post, like,
right in that middle point.
it was a weird time where, like, film was just not people didn't wanna do it anymore because it was obviously for school, it's, like, expensive, it's annoying, it's all those things, um, but then the digital was still tape,
Right.
digital this is pre-Red, pre-5D. When I was a senior, those things
Came
came
in.
out, or junior maybe, um, but yeah, it was everything was still, like, very mysterious.
Mm,
Like, um but yeah, I don't know. I was shooting, yeah, so, like, I'd shoot a little bit of 16 here and there and things like that. I did a lot of, like, gaffing stuff in college, because, like, they would have all these big there were all these, like, cinema, um, groups or whatever, and they would have a budget from the school or whatever each year, so they would make movies, and I never got to shoot any of those, but I got
you
to be the
got the light.
gaffer
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
lot of them. So
yeah.
So, yeah, I was into that, and then but I did learn a lot, and I wound up minoring in photography. I found that stuff and was going out, yeah, just walking around. So, like, every weekend, I was either walking around taking pictures or working on a film set or,
Mm,
um, very rarely, like, just hanging out and
right.
being a college kid,
Mhm.
but it was cool, and I met so many people that I'm still close with today. Like my AC, my first AC, Steve Doyle, he is an Emerson guy. I've
Wow.
known him since 20 years almost at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Um, so it was really, and a lot of DPs came out of there around the same time. A lot of directors, like, it's really cool. I don't know if there's still, I don't really know what the school is like at this
Mm.
point, to be honest, but
My second AC that I use often just graduated from Emerson. So I know that they still have a program, and they have a, is it like a satellite school in LA or something? They have something in
Yeah,
LA also, and she was there for a while, but she just
yeah.
graduated from that school.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I mean, that's good. Good to know. Like, there yeah, so they have Emerson has this basically a study abroad program in LA. The school is in Boston, but they have
Right.
now they have, like, a big building here, which is not new anymore. But, it wasn't it was it was being built while we were in the school, and then, of course, like, the year after,
Of
it
course.
opened and
Yeah. Classic.
classic. So but I didn't even get to do so they have this study abroad in LA program, basically. You come out here, you get an internship at a production company or whatever, and then you take, like, a class or 2 at this, like at the time, it was, like, in a freaking office building or whatever.
Mm,
But it was all about, like, getting this internship and, um, you know, getting a foot in the door.
right.
However, I, um the summer before my senior year, I got a letter from Emerson College, bless them, saying, "Oh, hey, actually, you have almost enough credits to graduate early, so you're not gonna we're not gonna give you financial aid for the final semester." So so I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, I had applied and been accepted to the LA thing
Okay.
at that
Hmm.
point. This is, like, summer going in. But, yeah, so I was like, "Wait, I'm not gonna pay $40,000 to do" which is, like, full tuition at
Right.
for a semester at to go to LA and do a free internship somewhere. Like, that's insane. Like, I'll just fucking go out there
Right. Yeah.
and, like, if I spend $40,000 trying to make it work, like, that's
Mm,
what it would have cost me anyway, so fuck it.
right.
So, I graduated early, like, 1 semester early. I had to take, like, an extra course or I forget exactly, but I wound up being able to graduate early, and then all my friends were doing this program. So I graduated early. I actually stayed in Boston, for a couple months and, shot a master's student
Okay.
film. My
Short film?
cinematographer it was a short film, but it was, like we shot for a long time and, of course, weekends because everyone else was still a student, um, and it wound up being, like, a 45-minute film.
That's a long short
Um,
film.
yeah, it was long. It was really great. The director, Faith, she was, amazing, and, like, it was a really that was a really great learning experience
Mhm.
of, like, right out of school, didn't have to go to class anymore. And so I was, like, fully focused on this movie for, like, 2 months or whatever, um, just couch surfing. It's in
Yeah.
Boston. I was like, "I'm not gonna pay rent," so I just, like, subletted my room and then still stayed on the couch.
Mhm.
Sorry, everybody. I was bad. But I was poor.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I was in Boston just, like, 100% working on this movie, and, it was awesome, learned an incredible amount. I was really proud at the time of what we were doing and what we did, and it turned out great. And sadly, we shot on a Sony EX3, so it could only be so good, but
Right.
it looked okay. Um, should check that out again.
From there, like what was your like how did you start to actually make it a career at that point? When did you decide to move to LA? Was that when it started to transition into like a
Yeah.
real career?
S Kind of. So then I finished that thing, right, in Boston. So now I'm leaving Boston. I knew I didn't wanna stay there. I wanted to move to New York, that was like my dream as a kid was like move to New York, live there. I'm from New Jersey, so it's like close to home, you know.
It's where I live right now.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
I'm in central. I consider it central New Jersey, near like Seaside Park, Seaside,
Okay,
near the
cool.
shore.
Yeah, so you're like in between.
Exactly. I'm like an hour 10 from New York, hour 10 from Philly.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's great. All right, cool. I mean, so I wanted to go to New York, but like I didn't know anybody there. Like everybody that I knew from school, all the older people that I knew had moved to LA. And it's because I think a lot of it is because of that Emerson saying it's like that's the point of
Mm,
that program is you get an internship and then you kind of get some roots and you're on your way a little bit.
right. Because also at
Um
the time, LA and New York were like the spots. Like now you can kind of be anywhere, but I'm assuming
sure.
then it was more LA and New York specifically.
Yeah, it was bit I mean, it was like this is also like 2010, so it's like the recession
Mm.
is it's towards the tail end of that. I think, I mean, to me, I'm like, that shit didn't matter to me. I didn't have any money. Like I didn't
You
have
were
a
in the
job.
recession no matter what.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I had no idea what was going on. But
Right.
yeah, I think you have to be luckily I was dumb enough to do it. But I did have one friend in New York. She worked at MTV and she got me an interview there to be like a guy that, um, like, organizes the equipment
Like a
in
gear
the
room.
the gear room for
Nice.
MTV News, and so I went to the interview and I was like, I would have a billion% done that job, like, but in the interview, I was like, "I wanna be a filmmaker, so, like, uh, you know, I'm gonna do this job, but, like, what do you think if, like, jobs come up? Can I, like, do them and
Mm.
stuff?" And he's like, "Look, he's like, "I think you would be perfect for this job, but I don't wanna stop you from, I don't want this job to get in your way of, like, doing what you actually wanna do, so maybe it's not a good fit."
Mm.
Okay, so now I know 0 people in New York. Now I have 0
Your
stuff in New
one
York.
connection is done.
Yeah, so now I'm like, "Okay, everybody is in LA."
Okay.
No pun intended. All my friends from school were now in that LA program, um, still in school, but in LA. So I go out there and what do? I crash on their their couch. So now I'm there in LA. I have no car. I have no money. I'm stuck in this. At the time, they didn't have their campus now. It's like right on Sunset Boulevard.
Okay.
It's like a
Legit.
sick
Yeah, it's
spot.
nice.
It's like
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the middle of stuff. At the time, it was Barham Boulevard. If you know that, it's like
Mm-mm.
these apartments between Universal Studios and Burbank. It's like you can't walk anywhere. There's no bus. Like it's like you might as well be in New Jersey. I don't know. But so I go there and I'm staying on my friend, thank you, Sean. I'm staying on my friend's couch for the whole semester.
Wow. You have some good friends.
I do. No, these people like saved my ass. And
Mm.
like not only that, but I was I was, like, staying on the couch, and then I would, like, try and get jobs on Craigslist or, like, one of the kids my friends were, like, one was an intern at Partisan, one was an intern at Radical Media, things like that, and they would be, like, very occasionally, like, 2 or 3 times, they would be like, "Oh, we have a shoot, I can put your name into PA." I would go with them, but, like, my friends would, like the guy I was staying with would, like, drive me to a job that I got on Craigslist, like,
Wow.
I got hired to do, there was a Miley Cyrus music video on at Sony,
On
on this
Craigslist?
on not the video. The
Oh, okay.
BTS
Got
the
it.
BTS shooter was looking for a data manager
Got it.
for,
Okay.
and I was like, "Oh, brother." He was shooting on EX3, which
Okay.
was what I had done the movie on. I had the old MacBook Pro with the S by S slot in it. I was like, "Dude, you have no idea how good I will be at this. I'm an expert at S by S." And he was like, "That's great because I don't know how to use this camera at all." It was like new to him. So I got to do that, which was crazy. Month one, I'm on the Sony lot.
Yeah.
I don't know, I couldn't tell you who was involved in making the actual video, but it was like a huge production, lights everywhere. It was really sick. But I would do stuff like that for a little bit.
What I really enjoy about this like story is that it's like such a different world kind of
Yeah.
coming in this industry when you did compared to now. Like the accessibility that I had and like so many other people have to just have access to create things and do things is totally different. And I think it's just like your sort of determination to create and like technically be homeless and like
Yeah.
live on a couch. Not like that's insane.
I
Like
mean,
not a lot of people do that like I don't know of
no.
anyone that does that.
And in a way, I was lucky that my ambition in life before that was to be in a punk band.
Yeah.
Like my dream job was to like sleep on the floor and play music. So like living anywhere or like doing anything was just like, this is sick. And like, yeah, going to some random Craigslist job and getting $100. It's like,
It's a
I was
lifeline.
doing that for free for
Yeah.
4 years in school, like, fuck yeah.
It's so rare to hear people or like talk to people that are willing to do things for like free like anymore, like really low
Oh,
rates
yeah,
just to get experience. I feel like there's a sort of like I don't want to say entitlement for people sometimes of just that, but I
sure.
think
It's not, also, just to clarify, I never worked, or maybe rarely worked for free. What I meant by doing it for free was, like, in school,
in
I was,
school.
like,
Yeah,
doing all
yeah,
these,
yeah.
we would make all movies all the time and shoot
Mm,
all the time, and it's like, you don't get paid for that. So
right.
I was just happy to get I was like, "Oh my god, I could get $100 a day doing this, like, I'm gonna be rich. Like, this is sick. Never have
uh,
to worry about anything again."
I'm gonna fast forward probably
Yeah,
a
let's
bit.
fast
Yeah,
forward. It's
yeah,
too much.
yeah. I think something that I really love about your work is that your work spans across so many different types of like styles. Music
Mm.
video, like you have some narrative work, you have commercial work. Do you think that your process of getting to the place of where you are now has been like very specific on the work that you've curated? Like, or were you very open to any and every type of job and like how you shot it? Were you very specific on like this is me, this is Frank, this is how I want to shoot things, or were you very adaptable and like creating your sort of work and your portfolio?
In the beginning, of course, like, if there's a job, I'm gonna do it, like, um, so that leads to, early on, a lot of music videos, a lot of, the people that I knew from college, they came out here and they got into music videos right away. Like, there were people like the Daniels
Yeah,
who, um, got, like, they made like a major music video right away. So then, like, everybody was like, "Oh, we can do that. Like, let's do that." So a lot of people were doing music videos. I wasn't even shooting yet, so I was ACing on, things like that on other people's stuff. But I was like, found myself in a music video space right away.
right,
The first kind of grip of jobs, of things that I wouldn't even call them jobs, things that I would shoot in the beginning, it was because I was an ace. I started out as an AC, worked, and I was working, my friend got me in with this director duo where called Focus Creeps. One of the guys, Ben, so there's two guys, Ben and Aaron, and Ben would often also DP the shoot. So um fell in with them being the AC for a while. Eventually they decide to do stuff on their own, and so um Aaron allowed me to shoot one of those things,
Mm.
and then Ben did as well. It was like it was really cool. Like it was like Battlefield promotion, It was like, and so we did a short film, and it was really cool. And those guys were like, to me, they were like not only the best, and like they're the coolest guys. We're still best friends. Um, they were top of the field in music
Yeah.
videos, and um, they were very well connected and had a lot of friends. So they started connecting me with people, and that was a lot of music videos in the beginning and short films. And then at the time, what was common, I don't know if they do this shit anymore. This is kind of like at the end of Vice, we had Vice music stuff, and we
Okay.
had the Fader magazine
Mm.
was big. Like they knew somebody there, and they were always making these documentary pieces, about artists. So right away we had music videos or these doc pieces with real artists, and it was just like boom,
Right.
pretty quick. Like
Did you feel
indie,
like your career took off quite quickly after that?
I mean, kind of, because
Yeah.
like we had done this initial short film, and that's where I met Brooke, because Brooke was the intern at their production company.
Oh, wow.
And that's a whole other story. You should have him on the podcast.
Okay.
Um, he was the intern. So I Aaron asked me to help him on the short, and it was like right around Christmas time. I was like, dude, I'm going home for Christmas. I have my flight and everything. I was like, if you let me shoot it, I'll change my flight and I
Mm.
stay. And he's like, okay. So that's how I
That's pretty good.
yeah, so that's how I shot it, and we used, like I got a C300, and he had all these old Focus Creeps was like they were always doing, like, um, crazy stuff, like weird formats and digital mixed with film, mixed with, the
Like just
glitchy stuff.
multimedia stuff.
So
Yeah.
he had all this, like, weird Nikon stills lenses and stuff, so we were just, like, recklessly running around with this stuff, and, like, it was sick.
Is this the
Um
thing yeah, you posted this a little while, was it the
Yeah.
knife,
Yeah,
something,
it's
was
called
that
Knife Tape Rope. So,
yeah,
yeah, I did post it recently because it was
it's 10
10
years.
yeah, it was 10 years ago, and it is really, like, the you know, the thing that started it all, and it's,
Amazing.
like, without a doubt. Um, because that, like, directly leads to he and Aaron introduced me after that to Grant Singer, who's now,
Mm.
we all know as a prolific music video director and feature director and commercials, everything. Um, but so I met Grant, and we did like 20 music videos in a year or something, which
Wow.
I know people have done. I heard I heard a lot of people have done more than that, but at the time that's like
Well, that's just
insane.
with one director,
Yeah,
20.
that's with one
Yeah.
director. And this is 2014. This is like the year I started at full time as a DP after,
Mm.
I was, at that point it was 4 5 years of crew stuff,
Right. Mm.
but yeah, kind of got right into after that short. We were right away because Grant had already done some pretty big videos at that point. Aaron had um at the time it was big. It was like, oh, this I'm doing a music video for a band that's on a record label, like, what? That's crazy. That's like, up till then, I had done, like, my friend's band back home
Sure.
in New Jersey,
Yeah.
something like that. So this was like it felt like, you know
Yeah,
big
life
time.
changing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um,
Was it I can't imagine it was the money that was life changing. It was just the idea of you
oh, no.
shooting like legitimate things now, or
Yeah,
yeah.
it was finally shooting things that people were seeing, really,
Mm,
like,
mm,
and people wanted to see, like, um, and not even because of anything that I did, just because it was, like, a musician that was popular or whatever,
right.
and I think, a lot of there's a reason that a lot of filmmakers come from music videos, and it's because of that. It's like there's any billion number of ways to meet an artist as a director or whatever. Um, it's a classic story. Like your
Yeah.
friend is in a band, they pop, you make the video, now you pop, now it's like now it's crazy. You're like somebody's friend and you're shooting pictures on their tour or whatever, and now you're like next thing you know, you're on shooting Vogue and shit. It's like
Mm,
I feel like that has even like evolved into
mm,
this, now that you have this whole content apparatus, shooters
right.
and things like that. Like people you just fall in with some person and you're connected to them, and then now they're off to the races, you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's like with any sort of relationship too. I
yeah,
find that when I talk to people about like how to get work as a DP, how to connect with directors or whatever. I find that some of my best relationships and like people that I've talked to, their best relationships are the people that they've built with over the course of 5, 6,
yeah.
7, 10 years. They did the no budget thing and then they kept building and kept building. I feel like that's the real relationship that most DPs have, and like the most fruitful ones are the ones that they build over long periods of time with people.
I can't imagine doing much with if you don't have a real relationship with the people, some
Yeah.
of the people you're working with in the beginning, especially. Like,
Mm.
it's sad because like in the beginning it was like these were my friends already, like we were like friends first, and then we're like
Yeah. Now
now we
you're
have
working.
careers and
Yeah.
stuff, and it was sick. um and like we don't get to all work together so much anymore. um but at the time, it was like, it was like the best thing ever.
Mm.
It's like, this is unbelievable.
It's like it's like the dream, pretty
Yeah.
much. Mm. Did you have ambition to pursue commercial at the time? Was it just music video, or like did you know that the music videos were maybe a stepping stone for you in the narrative world? Like, what was your hope
I
to kind of
yeah,
get to?
I don't remember having and much of like a plan or a concept of what even could happen. Like, um yeah, it's crazy because when I moved to LA, I just imagine like, oh, I'll crew, I'll maybe someone. Excuse me, one sec. Um, maybe someone will on Craigslist will give me a chance to shoot like a micro budget thing or something like that's what I thought was
Mm.
gonna happen. Like I'll kind of
Just
eventually,
figure it out.
yeah, like I thought I would come up through
Mm.
tiny indie,
Increments.
yeah, like but tiny movies or
Mm,
shorts
mm,
or that
mm.
that kind of thing. When I came out here, I didn't even realize like music videos, commercials, like, I had no concept of that industry,
Right.
how big it was, um, how much how much value there could be in those sections, and also, I remember, like, PAing on a job where the producer was like he's like, "Yeah, I work at a talent agency, we represent DPs, actually." And, yeah, that was his real job, and I was like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "Yeah, like, DPs that do commercials,
Mm.
um, mostly." I was like, "What?" Like, that that's crazy. He's like, "Yeah, a lot of our guys do tabletop, poor reels they
Right.
have, like these kind of people," and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" But but then, like, finding music videos and commercials, like, that's it's kinda the best shit ever, like, it's
Mm.
awesome. I
Yeah.
love it,
Mm.
and, so I wasn't aware, but I'm just, like, fell into it, and super grateful
Do you
for it.
still love like, do you still have as much passion for music videos and commercials as you did maybe when you first started? Or do you think your passion has grown for them? Because, I mean, the
Um,
scale of things has definitely changed, for sure, and, like, maybe your role has changed, so do you still feel a similar type of energy or passion
yeah,
towards it?
yeah, no, I love to do a video. I love to do a video at, like, almost any time, like,
Mm,
I'm not I'm not gonna turn down a music video just because it's a music video.
mm,
There could be other reasons, but I'll do a music video tomorrow, I don't give a shit. Like,
right. You just
I'm
like
fucking
shooting,
down.
that's like you're
Oh, I
yeah.
love
Is it
shooting.
your do you find that it's literally just, like, your favorite place to be is on set, regardless of what it is?
I don't know if I would say it like that because I do actually also have, like, an extreme amount of, like, I get really nervous. I get like,
Mm,
it's hard. It can be hard um on me to do this stuff, but I do love it. And, like, for me, like, doing anything is, like, the best. Like, I'm
mm.
not good um at not doing stuff,
Right.
like,
You say you get nervous. I'm curious, like you've done a ton of work that I don't know, seemingly is almost like iconic in the music world. Like you've done stuff with Beyonce, Harry Styles, like Watermelon, like you've done some serious work and
mhm.
like amazing projects. Do you find that there's like additional pressure when those types of projects come to you? Or do you even realize what they're going to amount to before they get released or before like in prep?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I feel like any added pressure depending on to me, the talent, like, those stakes in that way. I don't feel, um, yeah, I don't feel different about if it's the most famous person in the
Right.
world or an up and coming thing, but it's more just a lot of mostly internal pressure. Like, I just want it to be great. I want,
Mm,
hopefully the idea I had is going to work. I get like in my head about stuff like that a little bit.
mm,
Which is normal, but, like, I don't know, I've done the, like, things enough times where, like, I know quite well, how to handle, like, if there's any kind of, like, in a political way, things like that to look out for. I know the expectation of most, like, celebrity type talent in
yeah.
terms of not even, um, not even in term I mean, I understand a lot of times, like, what maybe um if somebody has like an angle they want or the lighting they want, things like that. I know about that stuff. I try to not think about it in the beginning, but I
Mm,
always know, like, I know now, like, if that conversation were to happen, like, I know what I can do to make everybody happy. It's no problem. Um but yeah, it's more just, yeah, like, on me a little bit. I want to, like, I just get like a bit scary sometimes. I don't know.
just shooting in general is a bit scary, or just like,
Yeah, because I'm always trying to do something new, and
mm,
I always, like, don't know if shit's gonna work, you don't
right,
always know, and it's like you might be taking a huge swing, and, I'm also just, like, a very self-critical person, like, like, doesn't matter if I'm shooting or if I'm, like, folding my fucking laundry, it needs to be good, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Do you
um,
can you allow can you allow yourself to recognize when you do good work, or you
um
find yourself to be always very critical, regardless of the quality of what you've created?
It's tough. It's tough. Usually after a while, I can see things,
Mm,
um, maybe more clearly or maybe, at the end of a shoot, it's always like, "Oh, fuck, like, you didn't get this, didn't that didn't," you think about the things that didn't happen that you wanted to happen, or
Right.
the your shortcomings or what you could have done better, how you could have been more efficient, things like that is it's what I think about. I don't get in the car and think about like, oh, that shot I made was so great. Like the lighting was so great. Like
Mm.
I'm like, fuck, like if I didn't like hesitate between those two lenses, like what shit like that. I'm thinking about how I could have made it even
Right.
better, even but then like, after a while you forget about that stuff. You can see a little more clearly like, oh, this is good.
Yeah. Do those things that you like the two lens swaps, like the little things that maybe you question on the car ride home, do they ever like amount to anything on the next shoot? Like, do you have any sort of like reflection period that you can improve on for the next thing, or is it just like in the moment thoughts about things in that particular shoot?
I mean, it's more in the moment and reflecting back. I try like I don't know if it's cuz yeah, I like to be very organized, and I like things to be very like clean and efficient. I think some people would say it's cuz I'm a Virgo, I don't know. Um but so I'm always thinking about stuff like that from the beginning, like how do we make this run smooth? How do we
Mm,
not have to wait for anything,
mm,
and I'm like very especially when you work with like the bigger talent, it's like you really can't make anybody wait.
right.
Like you won't, it doesn't work.
It's
You're
just
not
yeah,
allowed.
it's yeah.
And like you learn that very quickly. I kind of meant to say that earlier. I forgot. Um, but yeah, and I hate waiting. I hate not shooting. It's
Mm,
like I'd rather personally, I don't know. This maybe it's too crazy to say. But a lot of time, maybe not all the time. A lot of times, I'd rather roll and fix the problem and like
uh,
make everybody stand around for 20 minutes. Like
mm,
stuff like that. I hate waiting, and I hate being, especially being the person causing the waiting.
right. Mm,
Like I'm not trying to do that ever. And
mm.
so if that's happening, then I take it really to heart, and I try that it never happens, but, sometimes things happen, but
And it all depends on, I'm assuming, like the setups. Like if you have a big setup, you know that it is going to take time. But like as long as everyone knows it's going to take time, does that help you kind of understand that length?
it helps, but dude, like, at a certain point, people just put whatever the fuck they want on a schedule because they've gotta show an executive producer, and they've gotta show a talent manager, and they gotta show all these people that, "Yeah, look, it's possible," but, like,
Mm,
we all know the shit's not happening,
right.
and
That's a good point.
whether it's on the film crew, or whether it's on, how many times have we waited for somebody to take a fucking nap in the trailer? Like, it's like some of the time you just know shit's unrealistic, and
Mm,
like you have to be a little bit. I mean, I'm mostly talking about music videos
for
here
sure. Yeah, for
versus
sure.
anything else, but like, you have to kind of know when you work with people that do it a lot. There's kind of like a unspoken like we all know, I think.
Yeah. Mm,
Um, when you work with people that don't do it a lot, I don't know, it gets weird. It's like, yeah, what did you think was gonna happen? Like you have
mm,
water towers, and you have night exterior, and you have like 3 wardrobe looks. Like that takes more than 30 minutes. I don't
for
like
sure.
you can put whatever you want on the thing, but
Mm,
and you're not even gonna wait for me.
right.
Like I'll
Mm.
shoot.
You sure would.
I'll shoot, dude.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Mm. Away from music videos, I know that is next month. I think you have your movie getting premiered at South by Southwest. Arcadian. That's
Yeah,
right.
that was last year
Oh,
actually.
last year,
It came
March. Yeah,
out
last year.
already.
Last year. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. How is? I mean, Nicolas Cage. How's working with like a legitimate big actor like that? Like, what is that like for you?
It was it's unbelievable and it's you know, doing the short form stuff that I mostly do, you don't get a lot of um performers like that.
Yeah.
And I mean Nick, Jaden, Martell, Max, and Sadie, they're all incredible. Everyone in the cast is incredible. It was beyond like a pleasure every single day to just be in the room with those people. And it's was like a huge it was just a reminder like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what we fucking came here for. It's
Right.
it's like I love the other stuff, but this is the real deal. And like
What?
up until that point, it's funny because up until that point, the best acting I've ever seen in my life. Because most of the time, what I do, it's like music video, fashion, things like that. People don't really act. They're standing in front
A
of the camera.
model
They
type
look
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up until that point of doing the movie, like the best, I was doing the L'Oreal hair commercial in Cannes, France, and we had Helen Mirren,
Okay.
and she's walking down a hallway of a hotel, and she goes, "You're worth it." I I nearly wept, dude. It was like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like just the way she said it, like it was insane.
Yeah.
But it was for a shampoo, you know?
Right.
It was
Not a
crazy.
drama, deep, dark piece or whatever.
But it was honestly like my jaw hit the floor. Like I had never seen such acting before at that point.
Mm.
Um, so it was you get stuff like that where it's a reminder of like, this is what this shit is about. It's not about a fucking lens going through a donut hole or whatever. It's like, this is what film
Mm.
is. It's
Mm.
people. It's not it's bullshit,
Right.
whatever. But
Did
it's
you have
awesome.
to, did you find like a new way of working? Like, did you find a new version of yourself while filming this?
No. Um, this movie was crazy. It was super interesting. Arcadian came from um so Ben Brewer is the director. Crazy. He was a childhood friend of my college roommate, Ben Filippo.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Um, so I've known him. We shot like student films at his house in Massachusetts, his childhood house in Massachusetts. Um, I've known Ben same amount, eventually he was going to a different school, eventually he transferred to Emerson. I've known him a really long time. We've been very close. We've only worked together in that, like with him as a director and me shooting once or twice before.
Mm.
But he had done a movie with Nick Cage before, called The Trust, which is really great. It's like a heist. It's a really good
Yeah.
like heist movie. And so he got this script from the same producers, I think. And for Arcadian, he's like, let's do this. And because he had already done a movie with them and Cage, it was I think they had a little easier time selling a first
Right.
time feature DP. So um
Mm. Oh, that's interesting because that's true too. It's if you
yeah,
don't have work, it's hard to actually get the job.
Yeah, 100%. So I had to do, I had a couple meetings with the producers, but they were like fully supportive, like right off the bat.
Mm,
We talked a little bit about references and like what what they were kind of looking for, what we were all kind of looking for. And I think it aligned really well. And like it was honestly the best. I couldn't imagine a better experience making
yeah.
a movie, especially a
Mm,
first movie. It was like, yo, this is not what. Because again, I was thinking like my whole life, like I'm gonna make some, I'm gonna be in the weeds. Like I was just expecting like not not on this movie, but just my first movie. I didn't imagine could be
what it
this,
was.
and
Yeah.
it was like the perfect experience. I loved it so
Mm,
much. It was amazing, and the
mm.
Ben was incredible. The producers, the cast, everything, the whole crew. We shot in Ireland. It
Oh
was
man.
beautiful, like, the weather, the locations, everything was just, like, I don't know, it was dreamy.
Mm,
But we had, like Ben is a very, like he's an artist, and he comes from music videos as well, and he's, like, a kind of scrappy, like, do everything yourself kinda guy, and I don't know if he does VFX.
mm.
He worked on the Everything Everywhere All at Once. He's worked on um, tons of music videos. He wrote Reptile,
Wow.
that the Grant Singer movie,
Mhm.
co-wrote. Um, and he's just like he can do everything. Guy is insane, certifiably, and he's dedicated to filmmaking in a
Yeah.
way that not a lot of people that I know are.
Mhm.
And I think that is a very clear distinction between like people that are in the short form space and people
Sure.
that are not. But I don't know. I don't know enough. I don't know enough people maybe. But
Mm.
um Ben can do everything, and it is incredible, and he's insane. Um but on that movie we had this script that was not I mean it was 90 pages or whatever, and but it's a friggin' action movie with fights and monsters and scares and locations all over the place and visual effects everywhere. Like, it was crazy. And we had 20 days to make it. And we were in Ireland where they do not do overtime. They will not do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we had 20 10-hour days to make this movie.
That's
And
a
so
short schedule, but 10 hours is nice.
yeah, I mean, that's why it was like a fucking incredible
Yeah, I mean,
experience.
you're not killing yourself at 15,
No,
16 hours.
no,
Yeah.
I was like sleeping at night. I was eating,
Yeah.
it was a very like pleasant for all
Mm.
intents and it was
That's yeah,
hard,
that's
but it
amazing.
was the the reality of it was like it was kind of chill
Yeah.
in that way. Like we were excuse me. We weren't like killing ourselves. It was tough, sometimes you'd get to hour 9, you'd get to 9 hours and 45 minutes and be like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
I need 30 more minutes." But we just didn't do it. I think we had overtime 2 times
Huh.
only, like
Mm.
30 minutes or an hour or something. Um, but, um but so we kind of backed our way into this approach of, um yeah, kind of like verite documentary style of filmmaking for it, and that was for a few reasons. I mean, aesthetically, we love that
Yeah.
already. Like Ben's favorite movie is Breaking the Waves. We love shit like that. We love the Dardenne brothers, things like that, right? So we love that stuff. We had never seen without going full found footage, we hadn't really seen a lot of, um, monster movies constructed in that way. And Ben had just done this short film, it's incredible, called The Folded Ocean, where
Okay.
he he shot it himself and he did all handheld, but he used it. He was kind of testing like what he can do visual effects wise with
Mm,
a handheld camera and
mm. So you use that as
um
reference for this film in a way?
yeah, so he kind of like figured out, oh, I can actually do a lot of stuff. Like I don't know what tech enabled it or whatever, but he had kind of unlocked this ability to um apply the visual effects stuff to handheld and like a very free-wheeling camera
Mm,
in an effective way. So we 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 were experimenting with that, and then of course, just like the time frame lends
right.
itself to like shooting fast, shooting handheld, and 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 just kind of ripping it, and it
Mm,
that's what we did, and it was, of course, that what's more fun than that? You're shooting these people
yeah.
in these places with a handheld camera running around like
Free.
fucking
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
that's it. Okay,
Mm,
done.
wow.
Um, so it was sick, and I think it worked. Like, I think it's awesome. I'm really proud of it. Um, and they did like incredible work with the VFX. Their team is Zach Stoltz too. The VFX supervisor is like a big time collaborator of Ben's. Um,
Mm.
they just like crushed. I don't know.
If you can remember, like, was there anything specific that really challenged you making this film?
Yeah, I mean the shoot itself was sometimes very challenging just because we did have weather. Like we're in
Mm.
Ireland in the winter. We had rain. We had some really cold days. The first day, the very first day of the shoot, I'm like, the week before, I'm like, we have to get there at we have to be shooting at 6 a.m. You know,
Very specific.
we have to be shooting at 6 a.m. Um, in our at this time of year in Ireland, there was 8 hours maximum of
Oh,
daylight,
wow.
and so we had this day that was day exterior in the woods. I was like, we have to start as soon as possible. I made this big deal about it. They agreed. We did. Everyone shows up at 5 a.m. or what, 4 a.m., 5 a.m.
Oh
It's
boy, day
pouring
one.
fucking rain.
Day one, baby.
Day one, it's pouring. It's a monsoon, brother. It's like, so it's freezing cold, it's pouring rain, and because it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's cloudy, you couldn't see shit in the woods until like much later. So when I talk about I never want to be the guy that's making us wait around, day one,
Yeah, that hurt
we're
you.
fucking waiting for the rain. We're waiting
Mm.
for the sun to just enough to like break through the rain cloud. It was crazy. It was it was
Oh
that was
man.
hard, but it only got better from there.
Right. Your crew in Ireland, were they people that you've worked with prior? Did you get recommendations? Did you interview people? Like, how do you find the right people on an international job like that?
Yeah. I hadn't met them before. But yeah, they came from a few places like um I'm really used to like traveling for works
Hmm.
and working with new crew everywhere. So like it's hard. I would love to bring the people that I know everywhere, but it's like I
This,
don't know, you
yeah.
can't fucking do it. So um it was hard, but the crew was incredible. Some of them came from production recommendations from the local Irish
Hmm.
production. I had asked a couple DPs um, who had shot in Ireland. I mean, Ireland's like a huge hub these days, and a buddy of mine right now is going there, and he's like asking me, so that's cool.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it came from a few places. I interviewed a few people. We had a great, um, yeah, great gaffer, Mihal. He came, I think, through production, and then yeah, the AC Simon. He was like, dude, is like the best. Still to this day, the best focus puller I think maybe
Wow.
in the world. Yeah, I told my friend he's looking for AC. I'm like, dude, we did this whole movie handheld with no rehearsals. We never once like as a operator, I never once like looked. I never once like did the same thing the same way on
Mhm.
two different takes. Like it
And he
was
just
complete.
nailed it.
He buzzed like one time on the whole
Mm.
movie. Like he's like he'd be like, "Oh, I buzzed on that. Can we do it again?" I'm like, "Brother, I didn't see shit. Like, you're crazy." He was it was insane. It
Mm.
was beyond belief. And then Daryl Murphy, the grip was just like the best also.
Mm. Amazing.
Um, yeah, they were incredible.
Mm.
Um, and so it was easy. They made our freaking job so easy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Mm. Love that.
And the
Uh,
and the designer as well, Shane McNamara was
right.
like genius.
Mm. Did you
Yeah.
work closely with your production designer on this film?
Yeah, pretty closely. Like we were mostly locations. We were like maybe yeah, we were like mostly maybe um 2/3 location, 1/3 stage probably.
Okay.
And the stage stuff, we had one of the big um interior sets was on stage. So we worked really closely with that because a lot of it, the movie, it's like this family, they at night they have to huddle inside because these monsters are outside, right? It's kind of like that. So there's a lot of things that are like with the daylight, and there are some kind of some gags that we had with daylight coming through the windows, and what it means to then they close the windows at night to barricade themselves in. So we worked all that stuff out, where the windows should be, how big, da da
Sure.
da.
Mm.
And we also built like they built like a big cave set. There were actually like two or
That's pretty
three
cool.
different caves in the movie that they built. He built, yeah, it was really smart. And we only had one stage for all this stuff, so he built like a modular
Mm.
cave. He built all these pieces that could configure in different ways to make,
Uh,
for this scene, it will be put together
Production
this way.
designers are so that's a
Oh, dude.
such a cool job.
Yeah, it was crazy. They're so smart about
Mm.
it. And we were like, it wasn't a no budget movie, but it was a ambition the budget was ambitious for the script.
Right.
But they were like they were like stealing sets from other movies on the studio in the lot, and like we found like this boat set from another movie, and we stole all these backings from that had just been finished on another movie.
Resourceful is the right
Yeah,
word.
yeah, exactly. So, and they were like, yeah, they were really smart about it
Amazing.
all, and really, really well done. I think it's pretty seamless. Um,
Mm.
that was maybe one of the hardest things not to do, but just to think about and um, conceptualize and kind of stick with the plan. Was we started on all these locations, and they're like real houses and farmhouses in Ireland. They're small. The ceiling is 7 feet, 2.5 meters or whatever. It's low ceilings, small windows. They do this thing where the windows are like low.
Mm.
It's that's pretty common. So there, we knew we were going from these locations to stage, and the thing that I wanted to be very careful about was not feeling that transition of
Mm.
going,
Did you feel like on the
suddenly we're on a
stage
stage.
you still lived within the limitations that you had in the
100%.
real world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, I rarely had I'd, like so, like, the main interior set was, like this was, like, the upstairs of one of the locations, you know? So, on
Mm,
location, we shot the ground level, and then we moved to the stage to shoot the upstairs because that's where a lot of these bigger action things happen with the monsters and stuff like that, so yeah, so it was, like, very yeah, it was hard to just, like, don't put a light there, you know, like,
yeah. Because on stage, it's easy to
oh,
just make
yeah.
everything
Yeah,
perfect, and
suddenly the room is huge.
yeah, you don't have to have a ceiling if you don't want
You
it.
have no ceiling,
Yeah,
12-foot ceiling, you have whatever you want. So
exactly.
I had to really like pretend like
Mm,
we're still on location. There's still just daylight coming through the window, ambient daylight, like for the most part
right.
coming through. What does that look like? You know,
Because that's important in like a long form thing that's not similar to content or short music videos. Even though you're shooting once, it still lives within a hour and a half movie. It still needs to look and feel the same. And even if you have the act like the accessibility to do more, play more, it might not be the right thing.
I didn't want you to be able to feel when we went onto the stage.
Yeah.
So that was my driving force, and what it resulted in was a lot of we lit with a lot of practicals, we lit with, like,
Mm,
a lot of minimal, um, fill and kind of isolated light, like, we have a big room, we light little pockets so
yeah.
people walk through light or whatever,
Mm,
things like that. We had fire, around, we had kind of candles around, things like that, so you'd have highlights in the background, people um, moving through areas of light and
mm,
shadow in the middle, and
amazing.
um, yeah, it was tough, but it was designed in a way that we could shoot in this handheld way
Right.
where we're not cutting over to over,
Mm.
we're panning from person to
Did you ever
person,
feel like
and
you wanted to divert from handheld? Like mid shooting?
no,
Mm.
no, we did like I mean, there were times where for visual effects, we didn't shoot handheld just to make it a little easier on them,
Mm.
and um, they added handheld
Like a shake in post or
in
something.
post.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a few instances of that with when it came to VFX. We had like also the motion capture, so we had like a stunt performer in the motion capture suit, and we would do takes with them, without them, plates,
Mm.
da da da. Most of the time we just did that handheld and they were able to replace, you know, put the character over
Mm.
top of the monster character over top.
VFX is crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy, especially like the light levels were insane.
Mm.
The
Low.
handhelds is
Yeah.
insane. The handheld
Yeah.
is insane. Like um I don't know how they did it, but they did that shit. It's crazy.
Mm. Amazing. I got one last question for you. Um, I guess where you are now, sitting across the table from you, is that version that just graduated college, or maybe even just started to pursue cinematography. You were on your first set with your friend, your roommate. What advice would you give that younger version of you?
Um I don't know. I don't yeah, it's tough. I think there's, like, practical things, like, I don't know, like, buy frigging Bitcoin or something, like, I don't like,
Yeah, I mean, for real.
I don't know. I feel like there's not much you can do or say, like, you gotta I knew always like, even back then, I knew, like, my mentality was just, you just have to stay alive long enough and something will happen. I knew that from the beginning, and I still if people ask me now, how do I do anything? How do I become an actor? How do I become a musician? How do you literally just have to it's you have to be ready when the time comes. So
Mm.
you have to stay alive. That means whatever it means to you. So if you don't have stuff or money or whatever, figure that out, how to live in a way that you can do it, um, that you can just keep yourself alive,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
literally
No, I
alive.
feel that. Yeah.
And then just like be ready, study your shit, like learn your stuff. Cause
Mm.
I think for most people, if you do all these things, you'll eventually find yourself in a position to do something that's gonna lead to something else. Okay. And you need to you might only get one time and you gotta be ready for it.
Mm.
And so I always thought of it like that. Like this was before, yeah, there's like, now it's common. Like if you what do they say? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Right.
I didn't that didn't exist back then, but that's what I was thinking of.
Mm.
I was like,
Mm.
if I like when I P8, I would have a fucking light meter in my backpack in case the DP dropped it. I don't know. I don't know. I was crazy, bro. But like it was shit like that. It's like just be ready
Yeah.
because the time if you can be ready at any time, if you can live your life in a way that you can be ready at any time, that means like you gotta be kinda lean and you gotta be nimble and you gotta, you know, maybe you live in a bad part of town or maybe you live with your family or whatever it takes. But if you gotta be able to stay in the game and you gotta figure out the places where you can, make an impact. That means, like, people you find people that are doing what you want to do or people that you like. Put yourself in a position where you can get close to them or or get near them, get close to them, find them, not stalk, but like, dude, like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta get in somewhere and
Mm.
you gotta work your way in. I'm a shy guy, but like I know people that are fucking dogs, like show up anywhere, like no shame. That you kind of gotta be like that. I'm not really
Mhm.
like that, so that's hard, but um yeah, like it's tough. You just gotta hang in there.
Amazing. I think
Yeah.
that's great
I
advice.
don't know.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
appreciate that advice.
of
Amazing, man.
course.
Where can people find your work?
Um on the internet, I'm there. Just my name, just put my
Yeah,
name.com
it's right
or
there.
whatever, or Instagram, I guess. Uh, yeah, we're out there. We're on the
Cool.
internet, but I'm
Amazing.
here. Hit me up.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Hopefully, you enjoyed today's episode. Peace out.